All right, another video on the data sheet by Norwich 93 CMP. We're going to concentrate on the stock, butt plates, recoil plates, handguards right now. So the first thing that they're asking for is right over here. Oh, hold on, let me get it closer for you. We're going to talk about the M1 stocks, M1a, T3 we're not going to do, M2 pot belly. We're going to talk about the markings there, the oiler cuts, the high wood versus low wood. We're going to talk about the handguards and grooves and how many rivets, the marks. We're going to talk a little bit about butt plates. I'm not going to get into big detail about how to identify manufacturers, but give you a generic. Paratrooper stuff, recoil plates and their markings and the locations of markings, and something to do with the recoil plate screws. All right. So the first thing that they're asking for is, as far as stocks, M1 versus M2. Easy. Whoops. And you got to bear with me because I got a bunch of stuff laying around. Basically, M1 stocks do not have a cut of any type, hand or machine, on this side. From that bridge all the way back, it should be nice and flush. That makes an M1 carbine stock, okay? Versus one with a cut, missing bridge. That makes an M2 stock, no matter what. So that's the only ones you're going to check off over here, M1 or M2. Okay, now we're going to go and talk about the pot belly. The pot belly, different than the M1 carbines, zoom out a little bit, has this big protruding area. This one's very exaggerated because it's an inland, but another way you can tell is that this area right here is extremely, let's see if we get it to focus, is extremely thick. That strengthened it because they took the wood out of the bridge. That's called a pot belly. All pot bellies are M2s. Okay, so if you have an M2 stock, you got to check to see if it's got a straight foregrip. If it has a pot belly, you check off the pot belly. Markings. I'm going to show you a nice sexy one. Very expensive one. Legit one. Right hand side. Be careful because you may have some stuff, some paint covering stuff. It may be different locations, quality hardware. I've seen all the way from over here. I've seen IBMs way over in here. Same thing with Grand Rapids. So from here to here will be markings on the right hand side. Take a look for it. In the sling cut, this one doesn't have anything. It's totally blank. This is called a sling cut, obviously, right? Sling cut. Now I do the same thing I do with all my other, when I annotate, if there's a mark in there, I put it in the same orientation as if I'm firing it. So if this is the way I'm firing, this is the way I see it, that's the way I'm going to annotate it in the markings in the sling cut or the right side or anything like that. For cross cannons, I just do a circle and just like exit out. That's my thing. I have seen on the left hand side marks from here all the way to here with rebuild marks all in here. I've also seen them at the very top. I've seen it over the sling well. Just be careful. And I've seen rebuild marks up in the top in here also, and anywhere in here. The furthest ones I've seen forward was the SA one, so just look out for that. You may have a set of two. Put both of them on. One may be sanded over and a more predominant one. Just look for two sets. That's on the left hand side. The grip is in two areas. So this one has a circle P. That's sans serif, S-A-N-S space serif, S-E-R-I-F. If you want to draw it, that's fine. If you want to talk about anything, just put an asterisk next to it and put it on the back because there's a lot more information. This is bottom of the pistol grip. Inside the pistol grip is this area in here. Okay. I didn't grab, let me think. No, I didn't grab one with something inside what's called the slide well. I want to talk about other markings, and I do have some non-G, well, might not be GI, who knows. but you're gonna have maybe some rack markings. This one's obviously very prominent. It's paint, gold numbers, 5, 6. You may have a medallion here. I don't know. If you have holes in it for like slings that were put on aftermarket, put that in there. Sometimes the Koreans put a lot of white markings in here. Just be cognizant. Actually, I've seen some numbers in here too, and serial numbers here for like import stocks. Annotate all that kind of stuff. Okay. Now we're going to go over here and we're going to talk about the oiler slots. Now they're asking you right here, deeper cuts, top and bottom of the eye cut, and this is called an oval cut. This oval cut is longer than both of these. Okay. So I don't know which one I have in my hand. I'm not going to show that one now. Let's go back to a sexy one. I dropped my other sexy one. We'll go back to it. No, you can't see it. Stand by, everybody. Lots of stocks down below. Lots of stocks. Okay, so it asked about a deep cut. You should be able to see in there very, very well. Of course, the one I grabbed doesn't light up. There we go. You should see that see how they cast a shadow? That's because the bottom part right there is deeper than this flat part here. That's a deep cut. And I think I have an inland without it. So here's an inland. You can notice down inside there, it's straight across. Okay, both top and bottom. That's what they're talking about, the deeper cross cuts or not. Annotate that. If it's an oval cut, which is mid-war and later, this is an oval cut. I have seen some markings inside here before, so look in there really good if you can. Annotate that also, but this is an oval cut. Now they're talking about high wood and low wood. Let's go back to the Winchester. Yeah, we'll go back to the Winchester. This area here is what they're referring to. So just forward of the bridge starts a high wood area. Notice there's a mark right there for Winchester. Sometimes they're over here too. And if it's in the slide well, this is what they're talking about, and it's usually a crand mark. This one does not have any. High wood starts right about here and goes forward. It's a very thin piece, susceptible of breaking off. Later on, they modified them in the field, and later they cut that off and then circled it up around over here someplace. Those are known as low woods, like the one up top. Notice how far back it is. It's also an M2, but you can see how it's thin the whole way and then comes up where it's thicker right here. This is low wood. This is high wood. High woods were on type 1 and type 2 stocks. Be careful what you annotate. That's high wood and low wood right here. Hand guards. You got to be very careful. Some of these marks are very, very faint. Some of them are very, very obvious. The first one we're going to talk about is deep and shallow grooves. I got 2 hand guards here. This is an early hand guard. It's extremely deep. This area right here is very thin, that piece of wood, susceptible to breaking and cracking right down here. They later changed it and made it a lot shallower. See the difference? Shallow, deep. Deep is only made with 2 rivets. Shallow could be 2 or 4 rivets. All 4 riveted handguards that were made are all shallow grooves. Some were modified later on. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen a deep groove 4 rivet which was modified later on, but they may exist. This is a 4 rivet. The liner's longer. You should also annotate talking about the liner itself. These happen to be all park rise. If it's blued, put a note on the back. they're marked in all different locations. So if we're looking down the gun this way, Winchester's is right there. But looking down the gun this way, here's a lot of the Underwoods are marked in this area. I've seen some markings, Quality Hardware, Rockola, in this area. I've seen Standard Products in here. I've seen inland from here all the way up to the top in different types of variations. Look for Flaming Bombs if you can look for them. I've seen RSGs over here. TNs will be buried in this area over here. So just be careful what you're looking for. IBMs, mainly I see down in this area too. But just be very careful. Sidelight it. Turn it to the edge. See how like the PU is very pronounced? But if I did this, you don't see anything. Sometimes you have to sidelight it to see them. W's are very small. I've seen W's here and over here, different sizes. I don't believe I've ever seen any in here though. If the liner's marked, put it down right here. Okay. Now butt plates. Butt plates, like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail other than what's on here right now. The first one they talk about a square. So the square is just the right angled normal type of checkering, okay? Or upsetting or diamond plating or whatever you want to call it. The other ones are diagonals. So they go on 45 degrees. If you're firing the gun from this way, they're 45 degrees. This one happens to be an inland. They have 11 squares for a linear inch. Underwood also made a diagonal pattern, but it was finer, and they had 13 squares for the inch. So if you measure them this way and take something and measure them, 11 and 13. Underwood on the right, early inland on the left. That's what they're looking for there. Some of them were marked, and I'm surprised there's not a spot in there. I guess below it you can just check the box for other and put in for marks. So the only marks that I've seen, and I'll be a monkey's uncle, I didn't take it. I know I had it. Let's just grab this guy right here. The markings I've seen for Standard Products on the left-hand side right here in this flat. And then for some of them for IP and Grand Rapids, I've seen on that edge. So here and there for markings. Now it's also asking for M1a1 markings there. Might as well talk about it now. So the marking they're talking about, if there is one, is right here. So you got the B number, part number, you got like a wheel, pi, and then a number after it. Annotate that number in that space right there. Okay? I'll bring it a little closer. Right there. So we talked about the square diagonal pattern, the number on the M1a1 butt plate, and if there's any other markings on the normal flat ones for the carbine M1, mark it here. Okay. Since we're here at the M1a1, we're going to talk about the rivets right now. So steel versus brass, tubular versus solid, and then a rivet mark if there are any. Okay. So what they're talking about is this section right here. So these are tubular, there's a hole in it. It's not solid straight across. The mark they're looking for is on this flat portion over here, if there is one. Write it down. Now, these are browned over, so you can tell that they're steel. Brass is going to be shiny. Put down brass. I would also put an asterisk in that area where you talk about the rivets and talk about if there's any other markings, such as this, MRT. Okay? Or if the leather's maybe missing, partially missing, you can talk about that. Put it on the back side. Recoil plates. Actually, you know what? Let me go back to the stock. So this is a legit, it's a Type 2 paratrooper. It was made as low wood. The markings for this are in front of the bridge. You may see some rebuild marks in this area. You may see something here. This one has a P on the inside of the pistol grip, right there. So it was check fired at one time. You may have markings underneath in here. Be very careful. You may have to close it to see them. Look in there really good with a light. You barely see the R right there. Sometimes it's marked on the back of the pistol grip, the left of the pistol grip. The earlier ones, oh, I lost my light, stand by. The earlier ones had a mark here. Check to see there's markings on the back and on the right hand side. On the right hand side, especially down here. There's a contour here also you can discuss if you want. I've seen rebuilds up in here too. Okay, so that's the M1a1 done. Now we're going to get into the recoil plates. So I've never seen the earlier recoil plate that you see in the books. The earliest ones I see is the Type 2s, which is this one on the left. So it's at an angle in the back. This one's straight up and down. And then we're going to talk about all the locations for all those. So there's the angle that we're talking about. Okay, markings everywhere. Some are unmarked though. Some are marked on the face. Some are marked underneath, like this one. I've seen markings, and I'll go through here. Here, very small, left side, and on the top. And I just got a few to show you. There's one on the bottom. Here's one on the top, standard products, but it also has on the side, SW. Here's on the face, DI. The Type 3s, or the one on the right, straight up and down, okay? Marks in the same spots. This one's on the top. I always orientate it like I said before. This one here I wanted to point out to you. Some of them are underneath. Come on, focus. On the tang, there it is, ROQ. See it? RO-Q, it's underneath. Some are going to be here. I'll show you what, I know I have one. Here's one. Dang it. See that? Be very careful. It may be all cruddy. You might have to take like a nylon brush, brush it away, clean it off. Be very careful. I don't know what this one is. I've seen punch marks on this side. I've never seen markings that I can think of over on this side unless it's like foreign. Oh, this one's on the other side of the tank, PI. There's a few different types in there. You may have it in different locations. You might have it in 2 locations, so just be careful. Those are the recoil plates. And lastly, we're going to talk about is the recoil plate screws. So this one's a partial threading versus a full threaded one. Top to bottom just about for that one. Some of them are marked on the heads. This one has 1X. Be careful because the cut may cut through a second X. You may have like a little partial nick over here. This one happens to have 2 X's or pluses or whatever they are. Put that down on the paper too. If there's any other marks. That's basically about it. I think we reviewed everything. We talked about the M1a1 too. High wood, low wood, shallow groove, deep grooves, marks. The stock itself in this section here, all these marks, you're going to have notes on the back. So just be careful and take a good look at it. All right, that's it. Take care. Look at the next video for the data sheets.